Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this afternoon's lockdown live stream here from the Anantara Golden Triangle in far north Thailand. It's not a lockdown live stream, it's Elephant Professional lecture. We've done the lockdown live stream. Our Today, our elephant professional is Miss Hoi-Lam Jim, or Hoi as she's known to everyone, and she will be presenting some work that actually took place here in the Golden Triangle with our elephants. And those of you who've been following the live streams will recognize our elephants. And Mr. Cott, who was just standing behind me about half an hour ago, talking about yes, he's looking after his elephants. So what Hoy was trying to work out is, can elephants form a reputation about humans from watching those humans work with other elephants? Or more politely, or more easily put, do elephants eavesdrop on humans? She will tell us, of course, it's a fairly different concept, eavesdropping, but she will tell us a lot about how she does this and why this is an important question and why we need to know these things. I think there's a lot of videos she's just been telling us, not all of elephants, so she's working on wolves and all sorts of other creatures as well. So I will be quiet and I will hand you over to Hoi, who will tell us all about it and tell us, do elephants eavesdrop on humans? Hoi, do they?
Hi, thank you, John. So yeah, thanks for the nice introduction. And yeah, today I'm going to present a study I did at the foundation. I was there 2 years ago. So, okay, let's get into it. So just a little bit about me. I'm from the UK and I did my bachelor's degree in psychology at Royal Holloway near London. And then after that, I did a master's in animal behavior at the University of Exeter. And for my master's project, I did a study on self-directed behaviors in African elephants. And I went to South Africa to collect the data for 3 months. And I really, really enjoyed the experience. And yeah, I really liked working with the elephants. So after that, I did some work experience at the University of Portsmouth, where I was a research assistant working on dog cognition and primates and some human psychology as well. And then after that, I landed my PhD in Vienna. So now I'm a PhD student in the domestication lab at the University of Veterinary Medicine in Vienna. And I study eavesdropping in dogs and wolves. And this is done at the Wolf Science Center in Austria. So first, I want to talk about what exactly I'm studying. So whenever I tell people I'm studying eavesdropping in animals, they always think, they always ask me, what is eavesdropping? And am I listening to other animals' conversations and trying to understand what they're talking about? And it's not quite that. So I'll just explain what I mean by eavesdropping. So basically, I just want to talk about the concept of reputation formation. So imagine this is you and someone interacts with you and they are either nice to you or they're mean to you. You have an opinion of them because of how they treated you. So this is first-hand experience. But you could also learn about someone through watching them interact with another person. So this is indirect reputation formation. And yeah, you could form a reputation of that other individual by observing them interacting with a third party. So this is what I mean by eavesdropping. So my PhD is looking at whether animals can form opinions of other individuals by watching them interact with a third party. So for example, take a dog, and they interact with humans most of the time, and they see one human being nice or cooperative with another human, and then there's another girl here who isn't cooperative or isn't nice to that individual, and the dog is watching these interactions. And then we could test whether the dog has formed a reputation by letting the dog choose who to approach or who they want to interact with. So would they prefer the girl on the left or the other girl on the right, based on what they'd seen before. So I actually tested this with pet dogs at the Clever Dog Lab in Vienna. And yeah, so I was testing whether dogs can eavesdrop on human interactions in a helping situation. And this paper was published last year. So if you're interested, I can send it to you or you can look it up. It's open access online. So yeah, that's basically what my PhD is mainly about. And during this PhD, I had the opportunity to
hi,
go
Hoi.
abroad. Yes.
Hi. Sorry to bother you. Your presentation isn't scrolling through. Could you reload
Oh,
your?
no. Yes. 1 second.
Oh.
Is it working now? Do you see anything?
Okay, now I've got research abroad. Just flip through a couple of times and see what we can see.
Yeah. Oh, so did you not see any of the previous slides?
No, nothing at all, sorry. And I was just checking it wasn't just me, but everybody else was seeing black.
Everyone was seeing black?
Afraid so. Do you want to just click
okay.
forward and backwards, make sure it's scrolling now?
Yeah, sure. So I can quickly explain the what I was talking about with the direct experience and indirect experience. So this was just yeah, this is what I was talking about, where if so someone could you could interact with someone directly, or whether you could see a person interacting with another person and form a reputation of them through that. And then what I was saying was also I'm also testing this with animals. So for example, the dog here can observe a human being nice to another human, or not being nice, or not being cooperative. And then we test whether the dogs and the wolves, the pet dogs, would choose who to interact with. And I just said there that this was published last year, so you can have a look at it. And then now, don't worry, none of that was important to the elephant stuff. So yeah, basically I had the opportunity to go abroad for 6 months to do a project. And my supervisor said, where do you want to go? And because of my experience working with African elephants in South Africa, I really, really enjoyed that. And I wanted to see how it would be like to work with Asian elephants. So I wanted to do something with Asian elephants. But as you know, my PhD is on dogs and wolves. And I was thinking, how am I going to connect this to my PhD? So yeah, as we all know, dogs are domesticated by humans, and their ancestors are wolves. So the interesting thing that I came up with to connect the three species is that elephants and wolves are highly social and intelligent, and they're group living animals, so they cooperate with each other. So there's a nice connection there. But also captive Asian elephants, or Asian elephants in general, have a long history of interacting with humans and working with humans. So they're socialized with humans like dogs, but they're not domesticated. So there's also a nice connection there. So that's how I thought, this is one way to test comparative cognition in these three species. And then I had to think, whether elephants can eavesdrop, and whether there's any research on this that's been done before. And well, basically, when I was doing some research, I found that there were 2 studies on African elephants. So basically, in these studies, they found that wild African elephants can discriminate between different groups of people. So as you can see here, this is an African tribe called the Maasai tribe, and they're in the Amboseli National Park in Kenya. And they typically wear red clothes, and they spear elephants as a sign of virility. So these people are quite dangerous to elephants. But also in this national park, there's another tribe of people called the Kamba tribe, and they typically wear white, and they're agriculturalists, so they just leave the elephants alone. And in these studies, the researchers presented red cloves to the elephants, and they showed signs of fear. So they were a bit scared of seeing the red cloves because that's what the Maasai men wore. And they also showed signs of fear when they smelt clothes that the Maasai men had worn before. And also they can discriminate people based on auditory cues, so the voices of the different groups of people. So they did Macomb and colleagues played Maasai men's voices to the elephants, and they showed more signs of fear compared to when they played a sentence being spoken by a Kamba man. So yeah, they discriminated between the Maasai men and the Kamba men, but they also discriminated between Maasai men and Maasai women, and Maasai men and Maasai boys. So yeah, overall they found that they really discriminate and were more fearful of the Maasai men compared to any other group of people. And the study by Bates and colleagues also found that elephants had never directly interacted with the Maasai men, were also they showed signs of fear when they were presented with the red cloves, or they smelt clothes that had been worn by the Maasai men. So that suggests that maybe they eavesdropped, and they formed a reputation of these men based on observing them interacting with other elephants, potentially. I mean, this wasn't the question that the study was looking at, but this is what I thought when I read it. So if they haven't interacted with these people, but they learned to be scared of them, then yeah, maybe they observed the Maasai men interacting with other elephants. So, I mean, this would be very, very difficult to test this eavesdropping hypothesis in the wild with African elephants in Kenya, because it can be dangerous. So I thought it would be interesting to test this with captive Asian elephants, because they interact with humans all the time, especially, yeah, the captive ones, obviously they work with mahouts, but also elephants often interact with unfamiliar people, so for example tourists, and with these tourists obviously they interact differently with animals. So you know, one tourist could be really nice to elephants and the other one may not be so nice, so the elephants do have an opportunity there to form different opinions of people. So yeah, this is why I wanted to study Asian elephants. I thought they were a good model species to test this. And then the next step was, how can we test eavesdropping with animals? And I came up with an idea to use the string pulling task, which is a well-established paradigm in animal behavior research to test cooperation in animals. So basically, if you don't know what it is, it's a table where there's food that's out of reach. And to obtain the food, there has to be two individuals to pull this rope together to move the tray forward so that they can get the food. If you only pull on one side of the rope, it just like slides across because it's one rope attached to the whole table. So when you pull on one side, the rope will just slide and the table won't move forward. So I designed this study actually with the dogs and wolves in mind at the Wolf Science Centre, because we've done string pulling studies there previously. And I wanted to do an eavesdropping version of this. So I'll just show you a video of a wolf and a human using the string pulling table at the Wolf Science Centre, so you have an idea of how it works. Okay, so hopefully you saw the wolf and the human pull the rope together and they got the food. And then, so yeah, as I said, this was actually designed with the dogs and wolves in mind. But interestingly, I found a paper by Professor Joshua Plotnick from Hunter College City University of New York. And he had tested whether Asian elephants can cooperate with each other. So this is a video he sent me of 2 elephants cooperating with the string pulling task, and the elephant on the right is waiting for the other elephant to arrive at the table before they pull, because as I said, if the one elephant pulls first and the string disappears like out of reach, then they can't get the food. So here you'll see the two elephants cooperating. Okay, so after I found this study, I reached out to Josh and I asked, well, I proposed this idea to him and I said, do you want to collaborate? And yeah, he said, yeah, let's do it. And he suggested that I actually come to the Golden Triangle Asian Elephant Foundation to do this study. So yeah, off I went to Thailand, and this is where the fun begins. So basically the first study was looking at whether the elephants can eavesdrop on humans in a cooperative string pulling task with a conspecific. So when I got to Thailand, I had to first train the elephants to use the string pulling task. So as you can see here, we built these 2 elephant-sized string pulling tables, and the elephants had to learn to use the table. So in the first stage of training, I only baited one of the 2 tables and let the mahout teach the elephant how to use the table. So in this video, you'll see an elephant called Yui working with her mahout. So yeah, you'll see that she's a bit hesitant at the beginning. She doesn't really know what to do. But yeah, it was really fun training the elephants and watching them learn how to do the string pulling task.
Oh, đó đấy. Đó, tiếp á. Vô. Đó này. Rồi tiếp. Rồi ngay tiếp. 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 Tiếp em. Tiếp mà. Tiếp đi. Tiếp mà. Tiếp mà. Rồi.
Okay, so once the elephants got the hang of pulling the rope, then the second stage of training was where I stood at the center of the table and I cooperated with the elephant. So the mahout stood back and yeah, they were just there for safety reasons. So basically after that, so the elephant learned to pull with a sort of unfamiliar person. The next stage of training was where I baited both of the tables. So here, both tables are, the ropes are laid out and there's food inside the buckets. And I'm standing at one of the tables, and the elephant has to learn to choose the table that I'm standing at. Because remember, if they pull the wrong rope, then the food won't move forward. So here is a video of Yui getting it wrong.
Hey, rồi. 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 Đi rồi. Đi rồi. Đi rồi. 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 Tiếp mà. Rồi. Tiếp mà.
So as you can see, she keeps pulling and pulling and the table's not moving forward. And I think this is a really important thing that the elephants have to experience to understand that they need a human to work with them to get the food. So basically, here's a video of Yui getting it right. And they had to choose the correct table 5 out of 6 times before they could participate in the experiment. So yeah, so then once the elephants learnt to use the string pulling table 5 out of 6 times, then we could move on to the actual experiment. So there were 3 phases in the test. So the first phase was the baseline, which just means that the elephants met these 2 unfamiliar people for the first time, and the 2 people didn't do anything. All that happened was that the elephant approached both of them, and she got some food. And then in the observation phase, this is where the elephant watches the humans interacting with another elephant. And then in the test, we wanted to see who the elephant would choose to interact with after observing it. So now I'm just going to show you some videos of what that looks like. So this is the baseline, and this elephant is Jatong. So she just can approach whoever she wants, the person wearing white or the person wearing black, and they both feed her.
Hi.
Okay, hi. Okay, and then the observation phase. So in this phase, Jatong is now standing on the left here, and this is Bo on the right, and she's the demonstrator elephant. So in this video, you'll see the 2 humans interacting with Bo on the string pulling tables, and they do it 4 times on the table on the right, and then 4 times on the table on the left. And I sped this video up for time reasons. Okay, so after Jatong had observed the interactions, then she was moved back to the right-hand side and could choose which person to interact with. So as you can see, there's 1 person standing at each table. So we wanted to see whether she would choose the cooperative person or the non-cooperative person. Okay, Kai. So as you see, she chose the non-cooperative person, and when she pulled the rope, the person said, "Oh, I'm not going to help you," and stepped away. So she didn't get the food there. And we did this test twice. So on the first day, the elephants could only they only had 1 opportunity to choose who to interact with. And then a few days later, we did the test again, but they had 6 chances to choose people. So they had another opportunity to change their mind if they wanted to. So this was to test whether they formed a reputation of the humans based on direct experience. So the results showed that on day 1, so when they only had 1 chance, which is to test eavesdropping, because they'd never met these 2 humans before, that 5 out of 8 elephants chose the cooperative person. And on day 2, only 1 elephant chose the cooperative person in every trial. So this elephant was Prayer, and I want to show you a video of her in the second experiment, well, day 2 of the experiment. So here you'll see that she chooses the cooperative person in every trial. Okay, so yeah, when this happened, I was super excited, and I was like, oh my god, she got it right. She formed a reputation, but unfortunately, she was the only one who really showed this. All of the other elephants were, it was more random and like at chance. So they might have chosen the cooperative person like 3 out of 6 times. And when I did the statistics, none of it was significant, unfortunately. So, and also for day one, I mean, as you can see, 5 out of 8 is almost 50-50. So yeah, I didn't really get the results that I'd hoped for, but still, prayer was amazing. So we were wondering why prayer was the only one who did it, and the other elephants didn't really form a reputation, or so we think. And we were wondering maybe they weren't paying attention in the observation phase, because if they weren't even watching what the humans were doing, then how can they know that one person was cooperative and the other person wasn't? So we coded the videos, and we tried to assess their attentiveness when they were watching the interactions. And as you can see, they were pretty attentive, all of them, apart from Jetong. But Prayer was the most attentive elephant. So maybe that says something, that she really paid attention to what was going on, and she knew that the person wearing black was cooperative. So, but also, I mean, there might be other reasons. For example, was the experiment relevant to the elephants? Because, as I said, the string pulling task is a test for cooperation, and elephants typically don't need to cooperate for food. They forage individually, whereas wolves, it might make more sense because they do have to work together to hunt and take down large prey. So if they don't work together, they don't get food. So that's not really the case for elephants. Maybe that's why they don't think to cooperate with humans for food. And secondly, maybe the string pulling task itself was just too complex. Because yes, the string pulling task has shown that elephants can cooperate, but they might not understand that like exactly what the partner needs to do to cooperate. So they have to pull the rope. Just because a human is near the table, but they don't pull the rope, it doesn't do anything. So yeah, maybe it was just not the right task to test elephants. So we decided to come up with a new experiment which was simpler and maybe made more sense to elephants, which was just removing the cooperation part, and the human would either feed the elephant or not feed the elephant. And then, yeah, we can see whether they can form a reputation of humans based on that. So in the second study, yeah, it was just whether elephants can eavesdrop on humans in a begging situation. And the procedure was exactly the same. We just removed the string pulling tables. And we also added some extra conditions. So I'm just going to go through them briefly with you. So basically, as you saw in the string pulling table experiment, the observer was on the left, and then there was a demonstrator elephant on the right. And the humans would interact with the demonstrator and either feed the elephant or be selfish and not feed the elephant and walk away from the elephant. And we also added a control condition, which means that the elephant was observing the interaction, but there was no demonstrator. So the humans were doing exactly the same thing as what they were doing in the experimental condition, but just to like a ghost elephant. And we decided to add this control condition because eavesdropping is defined as a social interaction. So yeah, it needs to be 2 individuals interacting with each other. So if the elephants did choose the generous person in the control condition, even though there was no demonstrator, this doesn't actually suggest that they can eavesdrop. It just means that they preferred a person based on that person's actions. So this was important to tease apart whether it's just they prefer the person's actions or whether they actually formed a reputation of this human being generous or being selfish to another elephant. And we also added a direct condition. So this is where there's no observer and no demonstrator, but the elephant themselves directly interact with the humans. So the human is either generous to them or selfish towards them. And I'll show you a video of each of those conditions as well. So this is the experimental one. So hopefully you saw that the person wearing white was selfish and walked away from the elephant, and the person wearing black fed the elephant there. And then this is the control condition. So as you can see, the humans did the exact same actions, but just to like a ghost elephant. So there was no demonstrator present. And then this is the direct condition. So yeah, sorry, I forgot to say that there was a test phase clip in the end. So yeah, as you can see, Memu there chose the nice person, and she walked forward and fed her the mango. So yeah, I tested 10 elephants in this experiment, and unfortunately, we didn't really find any significant results. So the elephants didn't differentiate between the generous person or the selfish person after indirect or direct experience with them, which is quite surprising. But yeah, so we were thinking, why didn't they eavesdrop again, and why didn't they even form a direct reputation? But basically, we also checked whether they were attentive like last time. And as you can see here, I mean, they were not as attentive as they were in the first study with the string pulling table. And we were thinking maybe it's because, firstly, the elephants that had already participated in the first study maybe were bored. They were like, oh, this again. And also, the string pulling table made a really loud noise when the tray moved forward. So maybe that caught their attention more because, as we know, elephants have very good hearing. So yeah, basically we tested whether attentiveness had an effect on their choice, but it didn't. And also we tested whether the elephants had a side bias because Josh previously said that in his experience, when elephants don't really understand the experiment, they just kind of stick to one side and they just keep doing that because they don't understand what's going on. But so we also analyzed that, and there wasn't a side bias. So we're not sure what's going on. But yeah, when we were thinking about the results, we were wondering whether the experiment was ecologically valid, which means whether it makes sense in real world settings. So if you think back to the study I talked about with the wild African elephants in the Amboseli National Park, it's really important that they form reputations of the people there, because there could be serious consequences if they have an interaction with the Maasai men. I mean, they could get killed. So in that situation, it's really important for them to quickly learn to avoid these people. But in our experiment, yeah, if they don't choose the cooperative person or the nice person, they just don't get some food, which is really not a big deal. So yeah, maybe that's one reason why the elephants didn't choose the cooperative person or the nice person. But also, I think we should be a little bit careful when comparing African and Asian elephants. Although we think they're really similar, there's research suggesting that actually they might differ. So, for example, Josh and so Josh has done a study where they looked at Asian elephants, whether Asian elephants and African elephants can follow human pointing cues. And surprisingly, the African elephants did follow the human pointing cues, but the Asian elephants didn't, which is a little bit surprising because, as we know, Asian elephants interact with humans more than African elephants. So there should be more research done on whether African and Asian elephants behave or think the same way, maybe because of their different environments. And also, we're wondering whether the elephants were motivated in our tasks, because yeah, humans provide a lot of the food for captive Asian elephants. So, for example, the mahouts feed them, and the tourists feed them, and we tried to make them as motivated as possible by testing them very first thing in the morning. So they didn't have that much food, so they weren't yeah, like super full when they did the study. And also we tried to do it when it, like, as early in the morning as possible when it was cooler, because during the day it was so hot. So we decided to, you know, try and get them as interested as possible. So that's why we tested them in the morning. But still, maybe they just don't care to choose the cooperative or the nice person for a little bit of food when they know that they're going to get food later, and they can forage themselves anyway. So yeah, it's not a big deal to them, I think. And also, as you saw, like, the tasks are mainly visual tasks, and they have to watch what the humans are doing to understand that one person was cooperative or not cooperative, and whether one person was generous or selfish to the other elephant. And yeah, as we know, elephants are not primarily visual animals, and they rely more on auditory and olfactory information. So I think our study highlights the importance of considering sensory perception of animals when designing future experiments. So yeah, maybe it would be better to test eavesdropping using a playback experiment where they listen to the information rather than watching. So yeah, that's something I would really like to do in the future. And yeah, this study was published earlier this year, so you can take a look at it. It's open access and available online, or I can send it to you. And that's pretty much it. So thank you very much for listening. And I want to thank my supervisors in Vienna, Frederica and Sarah, for this opportunity, and my collaborators, Rachel, who used to be a research assistant at the foundation, and Josh, for this amazing opportunity to come to Thailand, and the experimenters who volunteered to help in my experiment, and obviously the mahouts and the elephant team at the foundation, and the staff at the Anantara Golden Triangle Elephant Camp and Resort, because I stayed there while I was doing my research, and the hospitality was amazing. And last but not least, thank you very much to the elephants. I couldn't have done the research without them, and I had so much fun, yeah, basically getting to know them. And this is my favorite picture of me and my favorite elephant, Yui. So as you can see, I'm wearing a poncho and I'm soaked, and yeah, I had to get up really early every morning, and it was really hot, but I had the best time. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed doing the research there, and I'd love to come back and do more. So yeah, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Hoi. What a fantastic presentation, I have to say. I think that I'm just trying to think of any questions or anything that you didn't cover. Hopefully we have some questions on the, Veronica has a question for us, or we have some questions on the Facebook, but I think you covered everything very, very thoroughly. Yes, I was just wondering, I was going to ask about the color, because I don't think that they, as you say in Amboselli, then it makes a great deal of sense to know that people dressed in red can be dangerous, and people dressed in blue are less dangerous. And as we know, as you say, elephants make up their world comes from many different senses and not in the same balance as ours. But if there's a spear on the end of one set of people, then you can take in every clue. Whereas I do wonder whether our elephants, particularly again having done since you came and did this, I've gone back into the elephant world because of Corona, and then have spent a lot of time with elephants again, and I really don't think they pay much attention to that. They pay attention to their mahouts. Whether they pay attention to strangers or not is another question. And then I don't think they worry too much what I am wearing, so they wouldn't to make them attentive to whatever that stranger is doing out there in the field, which obviously is the key thing. Or maybe I don't know quite how, as you say, it's a playback system or something like that to make them actually pay attention to the fact that there are two strangers and another elephant around, and then to try and differentiate which color or whether light or dark is may have been a step too far. But that was a fantastic experiment and very well put. And I think your conclusions as to why it might not have worked are spot on. So it helps us for the next one. So do we have any, Veronica? You're here on the Zoom. Would you like to ask a question? If not, we'll go over to Facebook.
Yes. Hello.
Hi.
So hi, Hoi. So hi. I'm Veronica. I'm actually a PhD colleague of Hoi. I'm working more also working on Asian elephants, but on communication. And I love Hoi's work. It's really so interesting, and I really enjoyed the presentation and seeing how much work it has been actually to first train them and to do all the different trials. I was wondering, I mean, you've invested a lot of time, obviously, but do you think that maybe it was just not enough time for the elephant to form a reputation? Like maybe they just are not that judgmental.
Yeah,
especially since they do have lots of interaction with tourists and strangers, and they never know, well, will they slip them a treat or not? Because obviously maybe they are not supposed to do that. So they are. It might just take a little more time.
Yes, I completely agree. And unfortunately, I do think the demonstrations and the observation phase was too short. So I sped it up, so it was really quick. But as you saw, the demonstrator elephant only interacted with the two people in total 4 times. So there were 8 observations. So yeah, they interacted with the cooperative person 4 times and 4 times the non-cooperative person. And that's, I'd hope humans are not so judgmental so quickly. So, I think there should have been more experiences, but also when I designed this with the wolves, as I said, the dogs and wolves, wolves are not so patient and they lose motivation very, very quickly. So we only decided to do a short observation phase because we were worried that they would get bored and they wouldn't watch anymore. So yeah, that's true. I didn't actually think about changing the observation phase and making it longer, maybe for elephants, just because their attention span might be longer. But yeah, definitely, I think we would have found different results if they had more experiences or watched more interactions with the demonstrators. Yeah, definitely. So that's something I'm actually incorporating into like a future study. We want to see whether, how many interactions it takes before an animal actually chooses a person like more reliably, like, maybe 5 out of 6 times, just like in my training, to really show that they can discriminate these people before we even try to test them.
So what we'd have to do, if we've actually stopped because of the diet plan, so we've stopped guests feeding the elephants, which is unfortunate. But what we'd have to do is six months before you arrive, we'd have to make sure that we'd have to do a long-term experiment and talk to guests. Half the guests wear white and half the guests wear black, and the guests in white always feed the elephants, and the guests in black never do. That would be interesting, actually. We can. I'm sure we can work on. It would have to be strangers, though, wouldn't it? It couldn't just be mahouts, because mahouts have to work with them. But anyway, next time you're thinking of coming, let us know 6 months in advance, and we can design something on a really long term like that. I mean, it could be very interesting.
But sorry, I didn't actually explain in so much detail because of time. The people that were wearing clothes, they were counterbalanced. So sometimes the person wearing white was the generous one, and sometimes the person wearing black was the selfish one, because we didn't want them to just choose a person based on the color. So we only made them dress in different colors to help them discriminate the two individuals. So for half of the elephants, the generous person was wearing white, and for half of the elephants, the person wearing black was the nice one. So yes.
So you're asking them to form, in that case, you're asking them to form a reputation in a very short space of time, aren't you? But they're actually paying attention to, so forming a reputation based on the same as us seeing two strangers in the 7-Eleven and saying, okay, well, that guy's handing out money and that guy isn't, or that shop assistant's working really quickly and that one's working really slowly. Customs queue or something like that. Okay, we may have been asking too much, I think, in that stuff. But anyway, very good.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Oh, do we have anything on any questions on the Facebook? Are you still there? Okay, let me have a check myself. I think we'll have some things to do as well. Let me have a look and see if there are any questions on Facebook. Yeah, you sounded happiest when you mentioned Yui. That's from Zach. That's true. Lots of she's and a nice squeak. Veronica would like. I see Veronica turned up on our lockdown live stream this morning, and I had no idea who she was. And she said, "Make Yui squeak." And I said, "I can't." then it turned out that she had formed a reputation about Yui based on presumably conversations with you that Yui will squeak.
Yes.
So there we go. These things can. Oh, hold on a second. That's all. Oh, she's muted herself. Anyway, there aren't any questions on the Facebook as far as I can see. And so, yes, thank you very much. I think that's all that remains for me to say is thank you very much. Please do come again, and if we can do something more long term later, then that's even better. Yes, hopefully you can travel again, or we can design experiments and
I'd love
not as
to
much
come
fun
back.
for you,
Yeah,
but as we're doing with Rachel at the moment, design experiments and we perform them, and we work on them together and we perform them, and you have a look at the results, which is what we're kind of doing with the smelly elephant repellent. And we're due to talk to Rachel actually in about an hour or so's time about the next stage of that. So these things can all be done, but it's not as much fun for you if you can't travel.
But thank you so much thank you for the experience, and I'd love to come back and do some more research or visit you guys after the pandemic.
Okay, well, certainly we will see you then. So, okay, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Hoi. All that remains for me to say is thank you very much for joining, audience out there in Facebook land. Thank you for taking the time, and please do, if you would like. Well, now you can now see me now back in the bar at the wonderful Anantara Golden Triangle. If you happen to be in Thailand, please do come and join us. As Hoi said, we are pretty good at hospitality, and every stay helps us keep the elephants here and fed and happy. So please do think about that. Do join us on the Facebook or for the lockdown live streams. I'll be back at 7:30 tomorrow morning, or again at 4 p.m. and we can talk about that. And I will introduce you to some of the elephants, and we walk around, and we're not quite as scientific there, and we don't do very much experimentation. But the elephants don't pay any attention to me at all, which is kind of the idea. And yes. Please join us up here in the Golden Triangle anytime you can. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I will see you all tomorrow, and join us next week for another Elephant Professional lecture, which will be again on Wednesday.